So who wants to give a recap?
We're in a hallway.
That was most of the session.
So yeah, half the session we were in a hallway, where T-Hole, the emperorless emperor, or he was holding court in his underwear and crown. As Kurt, you so promptly put it. So I'm just going to paraphrase your summary because you do a really good job.
Yeah, he smashes it every time.
Yeah. So Hellweir had some memories that he relived when he was sleeping from Chieftain Triangle. And he was telling us about them. And then we were trying to figure out what to do, whether we should remain in Alcator or go to the swamp to the temple, which we learned about through Amres's letter, or whether we should go try to find Samus Holbein. Lucirosi felt that we should stay and wait for the next attack because we need to protect the people. T-Hole was of the mind that we should go to the temple and just deal with this once and for all. He remembered that it's about 10 or 15 miles north of Alcator, and it was created 5 centuries ago by a breakaway sect of elves. And when they erected the temple, it was in a plain, not a swamp. The note that Amras left mentioned that it was cursed, and then the swamp rose around it and swallowed it. So there seems to be some sort of evil or chaotic spirit or creature that was summoned by these elves, and it's somebody hinted that this is what's terrorizing the town. So we Haverford was cleaning all the rooms, and one of them was used by Samus Holbein in his group, and he was fine, and they left some personal belongings. So we went through and rifled through them, as good people tend to do with strangers' things, and we took some magical things. T-Hole got a new set of lenses like that give a sweet ability to examine things closely. Basically, T-Hole's taken all of the magical items except for he even took the dagger, so he's taken all the magical items up to this point.
Hellweir took the axes.
That's right.
And I do believe T-Hole saw fit to bless Lucirosi with the dagger.
He did.
Lucirosi looked at it like, okay, I suppose I'll use this as a backup weapon.
Yeah, he was known as a benevolent emperor. So,
there's still a lot of taxes we owe him, so
yeah, that's true. It's like 1,400 years of back taxes. You're
yeah. So we headed downstairs and we talked to Elan, and he was very interested in taking notes and collecting rumors. So we gave him a theory about the darkness, and he got a little skittish at that and tried to leave. And it was probably also because of T-Hole's crown, since he was wearing the chieftain's crown. T-Hole does not see fit to remove the crown. So he refuses to do that.
Yeah, Elon got nervous because you were claiming to be the emperor and Hellweir threatened to cut him in half.
I would be nervous at the second part of that.
That makes sense.
So we went back to the tour and found Ascus, and he was telling us that he suspected Greza still and should say she was on her walk, so we should search her home again. Then we were able to convince Ascus to go check out the specters, and he did that. And we went to a home which was called the Falkirk Mining Company, and Lucirosi saw a pair of yellow cat-like eyes, and we went into the basement to investigate.
We weren't going there. We had passed by because we were going to be.
That's what I mean.
Follow Greza.
Yeah.
We got distracted. So once again, something shiny pops up, and we go and investigate.
So now you're down in the basement. Lucirosi, you're standing in front of a barrel. There's an acrid smell in the air, but you're certain that it's coming from this barrel in front of you. You also see what looks to be identical barrels dimly across on the other side of the basement. They appear to be stacked up too high, not quite to the ceiling, but more than perhaps 7 or 8 feet high. And you're not sure how many barrels there are overall. You can't really see much past them because it's dark in that end.
What about, are the barrels, do they appear to be open?
You can't, the ones that are stacked up across from you can't see. This one, there's a fairly loose lid on it, but it's not exposed to the air.
Okay. And I think I used light on my gauntlet. Is that correct?
I thought it was your, like either a weapon or you took the silver mining pick.
Okay. So, I'll just, kind of switch that to my left hand and then see if I can't open the barrel and look inside.
It's not so hard to flip it up. It appears to be filled with black powder.
Okay. Do I have any idea what that black powder might be?
Are you proficient with alchemy tools? If not, it's a straight intelligence check.
It will be a straight intelligence then.
Nope.
So I will. I'll replace the barrel, and I'll just whisper to everybody. There's some kind of black powder in these things. I have no idea what it is. Be on guard. I know that I saw something down here.
Yes, I do know your brain is making tricks on you.
So you can also hear something is moving around on the deeper in this basement, but you can't tell exactly where.
So I'm moving my guy. I can join these two, right? Yes. So, let's see.
And as you get to about there, I guess everybody make me a perception check. But with it, you can make it with advantage. Lucirosi, you begin to see little flares of light coming from the other side of the barrels stacked up in front of you. And you can hear
this area?
No, more in like this area. But from behind them. And you can hear a sound that sounds like scratching. It sounds like somebody is like working with a flint and tinder.
All right, so I'm going to turn to my compatriots and put my, universal finger of quiet, and then point to where I see the person or the thing that I see, and then I'll point to Helweir and direct him to go towards the left, and then T-hole, and I'll direct T-hole to go towards the right.
Okay.
Okay, actually, everybody can roll initiative for me now.
Okay.
Never mind then.
I get advantage, so I'm gonna roll it again. Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
Oh man.
Wow, I got a critical fail on my initiative, and with a -1, I got a 0.
And you didn't. Oh, you grouped up your thing, so it didn't put you on the on the turn tracker.
Oh, let me ungroup.
I can add it.
Okay.
Luckily, your initiative was 0, so I didn't actually have to change what it was going to put in there anyway. So, Helweir, you get to go.
All right. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Do I see anything?
Only what you can actually see. So
Okay.
probably not. The barrels are pretty tightly packed.
Yeah. Is there any way that I could shoot like an arrow through them somewhere? Like if I came back here, could I go? Phew?
Like I said, they're kind of all side by side.
Yeah.
So you can't. There's not much of a gap between them. You could shoot one over them. The ceiling in the basement is probably about 10 or 11 feet, and they're only 7 or 8 feet high.
Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't be a very good shot. So I'm just gonna walk up to like the side here where he told me to go and just wait here. And I'm just gonna hold my action.
Okay. You hear more scraping and see little. It's not bright, but it's like a dim flash of light behind the barrels. T-hole.
All right. So, T-hole is going to walk up to, let's see. He's going to walk about here. And then he's going to cast Thunder Wave right here in this cube.
Jesus Christ. You don't even know what it is. It could be a little kid.
Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You can see, well, not T-hole, but Helweir can see Lucia Rossi, his eyes widen and him going, no, 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 like mouthing.
Okay, roll your damage. Or roll the spell damage. What's the DC?
It's 15.
And what's the cube size again? Is it 20 feet or 15 feet? I don't remember.
It's 15 feet.
Okay, so it's 5 feet on either side.
Come on, I'm clicking the thing. It should.
And is it dexterity or constitution?
Con. Is it? All right. So there, he isn't knocked prone.
Well, that's one person. Okay, so what's the damage?
I'm trying to roll. It's not letting me. I have the output as attack. But when I click it, it's not showing up. I clicked it. Oh, that one shows up. That one shows up. Thunderwave does not show up.
Let me see what's going on. Oh, it shows up for me.
That's weird.
Although I rolled it as level 2. Although actually it came up as 2d8 anyway.
Yeah, because it is 2d8. I think base. All right.
So, I mean, try it again. Just click on the word Thunderwave.
I'm clicking on it.
I don't know why it works for me, but not for you.
It's just Thunderwave. Like, it is only the spell Thunderwave. Every other spell is working.
Is it not prepared?
I'll be 1 sec, guys.
That would be embarrassing if you're trying to cast Thunderwave and you didn't prepare it.
No, it's prepared.
Yeah, I have no idea why I can't do it. Whatever. I'll see if I can figure it out. No need to hold up the game for it.
Why not just go to the dice roller and do 2d8?
Yeah, let's just do that as the workaround for the moment.
Let's see.
You press D, it should bring up the dice roller.
Yeah. So it's 2d8 plus
I think it's just 2d8.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if it added anything.
Okay. So.
Oh, you know what? I did get it to work. It was like stuck. I had it open on one screen and kept it had a pop up each time. So now I have like a bunch of pop ups sitting.
Oh yeah, because you have to determine which level you're going to cast it in. You're going to upcast it. Those other ones that they don't have upcast.
Yep, that makes sense. So also to just roll a d20 for me. Okay, you rolled high. So as you you cast a spell, there's the wave of thunder goes out and it begins to knock all of the barrels immediately in front of you away, revealing one dead human person, a now injured but bound and gagged halfling, and also a white furred creature that you can dimly see in the light here. That looks like this. Hold on.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, Hellweir, you will have seen these before in your dream from Triandal.
Yeah.
It stands about 7 feet tall. And you see in its hands, although they look very paw-like, They're very dexterous. It has a flint and tinder.
Okay.
And it is now, there are still some barrels that are standing, but the 4 immediately in front of T-Hole are gone. But they did not explode. It appears as though this creature is trying to make a spark, and it will be much, much easier for him to light this and explode all the remaining barrels now because there are piles of black powder around him from where the barrels just broke from T-Hole Thunderwave.
Awesome.
And it's Luciarosi's turn.
All right. Well, I first say, Ashros, damn you, T-Hole! What have you done? And then he sees the creature and he says, oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my.
I just heard that in like the professor's voice.
Yeah, I heard it in George Takei's voice.
Let's see. What am I going to do? No, that could go poorly. And everybody still has the
Temporary hit points.
the 5 temporary hit points.
Oh, hell yeah. That'll save me from the giant explosion.
Yeah, Jesus.
You guys are lucky. I was gonna hit a barrel with a firebolt, so this was the second better option.
All right, so I am going to use my Radiant Soul ability. And so suddenly you see this flash of light emit from Luciarosi as these tendrils of energy sprout from his back in the vague kind of outline of wings, though there's no feathers or flesh or anything like that. It's just like the kind of a skeletal type of blue light. And then with that, I will fly forward and attempt to grapple this thing.
Wow.
So let's see. I have... All right, so I can get right there, 30 feet, and then grapple him. So athletics. I don't have to make an attack roll first. It's just athletics, right?
Just athletics, yeah.
I'm going to use an action point. No, actually, I'm going to do my second attack first to try another grapple.
Okay, you now have him grappled.
Okay. And then I think pretty much I'm just gonna hang on for the moment. Can't really do anything else. So then that's my turn.
Okay. So he is grappled by you, so he can't move, but he is still, you see there's another flash as he is awkwardly trying to strike a spark from this flint and tinder.
While I'm grappled with him, could I use an action point to restrict his arms from doing that?
Yeah, sure you could.
Okay.
It wasn't his turn anyway, but that's fine. That'll be his turn. So it's Hellweir again.
Cool. I see Lushirosi and his giant wing things trying to grab the thing. Can I just can I push this barrel to the side? Is this one empty?
The barrels aren't empty, but the one you're standing on now was blown apart by the thunder wave.
Awesome.
So the one that's right in should actually signal. This one here is still intact.
Right. Okay. I just see the creature and I pull out my my new shiny hand axes and start striking. Bam. Oh baby.
That's it. So you're
no.
So your actual damage then is 18 from the way I do it.
All right. And then I'll take a second attack. But this one's without proficiency, so we'll take a couple numbers off this one.
That hits.
All right, and I'll just do that. How's the creature reacting? Is it like trying to escape this grapple still, or what's going on?
It has just been grappled, so what it's planning to do is unclear. But then it's its turn, and you see, even though it's taken this bunch of damage from you, it was trying to strike another spark, but it's being restrained by Lushirosi, so it can't do that, and it's Teal's turn.
Lushirosi will yell to T-Hole, protect the people.
Yeah, one is clearly dead, but the bound halfling appears to be. They're both actually bound. One though has been crushed and maimed. The other one is alive.
So Tio will walk forward and stay kind of at arm's length from this thing. Is this the bound halfling, or is that the dead one?
That's the bound halfling. The one with the X on it is the now dead one.
Yeah, you're standing on him.
Yes, you're balanced on his corpse.
Sounds about right. So, I'm gonna try to pull the. I'll come here. I'll try to pull the halfling away and drag him back towards the entrance.
Okay, athletics check. I'll give you advantage. He's not heavy, and they took his armor, her armor.
Let's see, athletics. Oh yeah.
Actually, nine is enough to start moving the halfling away. The halfling only weighs like 40 pounds.
So
like carrying a large dog.
Yeah, you can drag, whatever half the remainder of your movement.
So let's see, I move forward 5. So that means I have 25 over 2. So let's call that about yay high. So I drag about here.
About there.
Yeah. And then that's my turn.
Is she knocked out or?
She's tied up.
Hmm.
And
can I undo her gag, or is it pretty tight?
She's pretty well bound up, so it would take. You'd have to use your action to untie her.
Oh, okay. Well, my actions are used, right? For pulling her?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good, then.
So, Lushirosi and Hellweir, make me a perception check.
Very perceptive.
So one thing you notice, even though you're grappling this creature, is it doesn't seem like the creature is struggling, and it's not really. The creature is very quiet. It's not growling or making noises, or its face is very impassive, even though it looks like it should be capable of snarling or making some sort of facial expression. It is almost as if it's just like an automaton.
Interesting. Seeing this thing a bit more up close, do I have any recognition of what it might be?
Give me a nature check, but at disadvantage. They're pretty rare.
Okay.
You would guess from the description that it's a quaggoth, which is a kind of an underdark humanoid. And just so you're aware, in this world, in my world in general, the Underdark isn't underground. There are portals to the Underdark underground, but the Underdark is really part of the Shadowfell.
Okay.
There are underground areas and sometimes extensive underground areas in this world, but the Shadowfell is where the Underdark is.
All right. So with my turn, the first thing that I'm going to do is use my movement to drag it with me about here to get it away from these barrels. I'll position myself there. And then while I'm kind of holding him with one hand, can I make an attack with my main hand weapon?
Sure.
All right. So attack number 1.
That hits.
Attack number 2.
That misses.
All right. I'm going to use my channel divinity to increase that miss by 10.
Okay, then that hits.
And then also I'm going to use a 2 level 1 divine smites. Is this creature considered undead or fiendish?
Nope. Just humanoid.
And then additionally from my Radiant Soul ability, from one of my attacks, is it just one? Yeah, once on each of my turns. So one of those attacks also does an additional 6 radiant damage.
Okay. So what weapons are you using? What is
so that's my fist thing.
Okay. So yeah, so you land these punches on it, and divine fire shoots from your hand as you're punching into it, and you can see you are burning into the flesh, but it does not cry out. It is, however, seriously wounded. It's Hellware's turn.
So is it still holding the tinderbox?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to use disarming attack on it, one of my maneuvers. I'm not sure what my spell save DC is. Oh, it's a strength saving throw. But it has to make. I'm not sure what against, though. Bit weird. Anyways, I have to hit first, so let's do that. I don't hit. How about I bust out one of those action points? We'll go again.
Are you a multi-class ranger fighter?
Yeah.
That explains it. Okay.
I don't even think
just
that.
Not hit. You critically failed.
Yeah, there's my reroll, and I still miss. So I'm just gonna let it go. I think that's me. Okay.
Okay. The quaggoth turns, spinning around in the grasp of Lucerosi, and doesn't even bother to try to break free, but still impassive, claws at Lucerosi.
Oh God.
So that's it's 15 damage from the first claw, and I'm sure the second one is a miss.
Yeah, second one is a miss. So 15 damage. So definitely it scours a bit of my armor and probably grazes me along the cheek or my neck. But I'm generally slightly perturbed.
It's T-Hole's turn.
T-Hole is going to turn to it, and it's going to release a slew of magic missiles.
Okay.
So it's 12 damage.
Yeah, so the 3 darts come out and slam into its body, and it goes limp in Lucerosi's grasp, falling to the floor.
All right.
Quick, behead it.
Does it seem dead?
Yeah, it seems pretty dead.
Okay. So I am going to run over to the halfling and examine it. Does it seem like it's fatally wounded or anything?
You see that it's been pretty severely clawed at and battered as if hit by a thunder wave, but otherwise, I mean, it doesn't look like she's in danger of dying.
Okay.
What you do notice is that she's in what would sort of count as like underclothes, like the coat you would wear under armor, but it's exceptionally nice.
Okay. So then, triaging that this one is okay, I'm going to go over to this one and examine the body.
This one appears to have bled out. It doesn't seem as if he's been dead very long, but more than an hour, you would guess.
Okay. So I'm gonna go up to T-Hole and say that was very reckless. These innocents could have been killed by that act.
They could have also been killed by some of your divine energies lighting any of the barrels around here. Look to yourself. Look to yourself when you talk about recklessness. Also, there was no way to know what was behind there.
There were many ways that could have been used.
And blowing them out was the best way.
And what are you talking about with my divine energies? My energies only harm those that they are meant to. And then I'll kneel down and I'll use some lay on hands points on the halfling.
Okay, how much do you want to heal her?
How much does she look like she might need? Ballpark.
She's pretty low on hit points at this point. She's probably at 10% of her total.
All right, I'll give her another 10.
while Lucia Rossi is healing her, T-Hole's gonna work to undo the gag. And when he does, he says, "Behold, it is I, T-Hole, your savior and emperor, here to come rescue you from this vile demon. State your name, so that I may know whom is indebted to me."
I'm Lady Amphilis. Thank you for rescuing me, Emperor.
It is my pleasure. Also, Lucia Rossi and Helweir, my companions, had a very large role in that part as well.
I don't think it was a demon, but your help is welcome all the same. We were captured by them originally and eventually were able to slip away, but they sent the one thing after us, and it caught us as we were re-entering the village early this morning before the sun came up. For some reason, it didn't drag us back off. It ran into this house and hid here in this basement. I was unconscious for a while, and when I woke up, my friend was, well, he was already dead, and I was bound head to toe.
Oh yeah, he's pretty brutally murdered.
Excuse me, are there any others of these creatures around?
There are many of them that we ran into.
But do you know, are there any here?
In the village, I don't think so, but this is the only one we saw. This is the one that was chasing us most of the way back.
You said they captured you. Is they this host of these creatures, or is this some other entity?
It is a host of these creatures along with other things. I think they have some sort of boss, but we didn't see him. We were mostly holed up near. There's another small village to the north of here. We were on our way to investigate there when we were waylaid in the swamp by a group of them. They appeared to be taking, I don't know, hostages, I suppose, but they were armed with nets. They captured most of our group, carried us off, dragging us through the swamp into the darker saltwater part. It was when they rested at one point that me and my friend were able to slip away, being a little bit harder to find than most of the people we were traveling with.
It was very brave of you to escape. T-Hole, Helweir, can you watch this person? Make sure that no other harm comes to her. I'm going to search around this place to see if there are any clues about, or perhaps any other dangers that might lurk within the shadows.
Helweir doesn't pay much attention, and he's just like checking out this body and seeing if there's any if, because we did strike it and it didn't cry out, if they did strike true. So he's just like looking at the wounds and stuff like that to see what the deal is.
Yeah, I mean, you're sure that you hit it. All the wounds look correct. The creature doesn't have much in the way of gear. You do find it has strapped around its onto its back. It does have a net and a stone axe, but otherwise it's dressed in a pretty ratty loincloth.
Yeah,
it could be yours.
Helweir's just confused, I guess. Yeah, just give me a second. We're back.
Can I do an investigation check around here to see if I see anything else?
Sure. In the basement or upstairs?
In the basement. I want to check the immediate area first.
Sure. You find, in addition to these barrels of powder, there's a fair bit of mining equipment down here. Pickaxes. In one corner, there's an old cart that you would use to drag things around a mine. There's a lot of tarps and timber and nails and hammers.
Okay. I call out to the others. It just seems to be normal mining equipment, although I have no idea what this black powder is. The creatures seem to be wanting to light it on fire.
If T-Hole like kind of takes a handful and like looks at it closely with his newfound glasses.
Right, you're sure it is the source of that acrid smell in the air down here. Give me an investigation check with advantage. So you would know what this is anyway. This is blasting powder. That is sometimes used to break rocks in a mine.
Gotcha.
Although with this much blasting powder, it probably would have brought the house down upon you and upon the quaggoth if he had set it off. And you're sure he must have been trying to do that, since a spark is what would have done it.
I say to Lucirosi and Halwir, what you have here is grade A blasting powder, and enough of it to bring this whole damn place down. Very reckless of them to leave it all in one spot. It's an accident waiting to happen. No wonder they went out of business.
I think this was less an act of recklessness and more of a plan to eliminate us. I think that we may have been drawn here. The way these barrels are arranged, purposeful. The creature didn't seem to be interested in lighting the powder before we got here. This person, the lady, what's the lady's name again? The halfling?
Amphilis.
Amphilis' comrade here has been dead for at least an hour. It had all the time in the world to light this blasting powder if that's what it wanted to do. It didn't choose to do that until we had gotten down here.
Should have been smart enough to pull some out to light it. But you are right. It could have been waiting for us.
So then that begs the question, how did it know that we would be near? Lucirosi kind of looks over his shoulder a little bit just to make sure, kind of like getting that feeling of being watched.
Well, it's clear that our presence has not gone unnoticed in the village.
I want to collect this thing's head.
Okay.
Can I do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, do you want it to be especially cleanly cut off, or do you not care?
Don't really care.
Yeah, then that's easy.
Okay.
Put the entrails in your, the entrails in your pack.
Yeah, a bit of a spine hanging on there too. Like.
Lucirosi looks at Halwir doing that, and he's just like, for once, Halwir, I don't hate what you're doing. It might be good to bring some kind of evidence of this creature to the rest of the town.
Yes, this will be all the evidence they need to fully believe that Gruzza's after this. That Gruzza's on those walks to bring these creatures and lure them out here.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I'm sure the townsfolk will. You don't worry about that.
At the very least, Gruzza's former comrades who believed such a creature had killed their children will know that this creature is also dead, and that there has been at least some manner of justice.
I'm a little confused though. Why would the creature bring you here?
I don't exactly know why the creature brought us here. Like I said, it was getting close to dawn. From what I can tell, they attacked us at night in the swamp, and then it chased us here again. I think it may not like daylight. It may not like the sun.
Well, Lucirosi will, as gently as possible, carry her friend, and then suggests, I think we should go back to town. It'll be important for the people to hear this halfling story, as well as to see the creature that tried to lure us to our deaths.
Yes.
Well, I also think I need to enlist your help, and we can worry about what you'll be paid later on, but we've got to rescue the rest of my group.
What, the ones in the swamp?
Yes.
You are correct, madam. There is no need to discuss pay at this moment. Innocents are at stake.
Yes. You are already indebted to me as is. We shall not further the debt anymore, at least at this moment. I'm a benevolent emperor, and I understand the plight of my people.
I just got a flashback to 300. I am a benevolent god.
So she turns to you, Lucirosi, and says, "Is he all right?"
I would just try to ignore him as best you can. He is mostly harmless. And he looks back at the barrels and then eyeballs T-Hole fiercely.
And T-Hole just kind of smiles and nods.
Well, we should head out. I need to find armor and weapons before we go back into the swamp.
Yes, and I'd like to take a look at the upstairs, since we've already almost blown up the downstairs.
Lucirosi nods to the glowing pickaxe on the floor and says, "You may wield that if it is something that you are comfortable with."
Well, this will do for a start. Are we in Alcator?
Indeed we are.
Yes.
That's good. I left some. I have some gear stored at the inn, so we can go there first.
Do you recognize this? And I pull out my axe.
Were you with Samus Holbein?
Yes, I was. Do you know Master Holbein?
Not directly, but we've been searching for him.
Well, he was one of the ones who was captured.
Then it's certainly by Ashros's light that we found you here.
And then I turn, the T-Hole pipes up. I told you we needed to go to the swamp, and yet you didn't listen. Yes. The Emperor always knows what's right.
Well, it is good that we did not immediately go to the swamp, otherwise we would not have a guide to lead us directly to where Samus is.
Surely you aren't going to force this young woman who just escaped from the swamp to go back into the swamp to be delivered into the arms of these creatures.
I will definitely go back into the swamp, although I don't know how good a guide I'll be. The swamp is... we were lucky to have found our way out as it was, and once we were out, it was easy enough to navigate back in the direction of Alcator. But once you're in the swamp, it's very easy to get turned around and lost. So I don't necessarily know where they set up camp, and I'm pretty sure they didn't stay there very long after we left.
And weren't you wandering the swamps by night?
Yes.
So you couldn't see anything anyway.
Right. The swamp. So that section of the swamp is about as dark as you can get, even during the day. Basically, we just we picked a direction and we kept going, even if that meant we had to swim part of the way. which was a problem because we had to swim away from a lot of things that probably would have done us harm.
It is certainly a miracle that you made it out safely.
I think that's probably true. Thanks be to Asherus.
So come, we shall get your belongings and notify the townsfolk of this new development.
So she follows you up the stairs.
All right. Does anybody want to do anything else in this house? Or
I wanted to look up on the first floor.
Give me an investigation check. You can search around.
Oh, you got it.
I'm investigating hardcore.
So on the first floor, looking around, you manage to find there is a locked iron strongbox. You also find among some of the papers left behind, there's a bunch of letters back and forth about a disaster in the mine where a wall opened up into a new cavern, and they heard sort of sounds in the darkness that wound up causing an evacuation of the mine.
Oh. Does it mention anything about what kind of sounds, or it just says sounds in the darkness?
It says that they heard sounds. It doesn't say specifically what. Reading further, you see that there were certain people went missing, and then there were people found dead. And that caused a panic amongst the mine workers, so they all abandoned the place. And then the Falkirk family, who ran the mine, didn't feel safe going in and trying to root this thing out alone. At some point later on, it seems as if the disappearances started to happen here in Alcator, and the father of the family, getting fed up, just decided that it wasn't worth it, and so left with his family.
Is there any indication where the mine is located?
It doesn't say that. You don't see anything that indicates where the mine is. That is probably something somebody in the town would know, though.
Okay. And I share that information with the party.
And you're sure moving the strongbox around, it definitely has stuff in it. Some of it, I mean, it certainly has some coins in it.
Hellware, will you do the honors?
Aye. And I walk over to it, and what kind of lock is it? Can I just bust it open? Like, I haven't got anything.
Can. I mean, it's pretty. The chest itself is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
There is some wood to it, but it's mostly bound in iron. So it might be hard to break the lock. It might take a couple of attempts. You could definitely break through it eventually.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna keep smacking at it. Should I just do some athletics checks, or
yeah,
a little bit more?
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep going. Getting tired. Keep going until I say stop.
Okay.
Okay, there.
All right.
Finally, after exhausting yourself, beating on this thing, scratching it up but not really breaking it, you're able to. The lock is still perfectly solid and intact, but as you hit it, the entire lid shifts as the hinge on the back breaks off.
Yeah.
And inside, you find there are just chunks of there's 500 gold pieces and chunks of raw silver ore.
Nice.
And Lucia is just like, seriously? Are you guys really doing this right now.
Well, you stole the pics, so
Yeah.
it's only.
Yeah, oh yeah, that took like you watched him do this for like 15 minutes. It took him a while to break this open.
Yeah, so you can, divvy it up, throw, 100 gold pieces or 150 gold pieces your way. Split it 150, give 50 to the woman. Or not the woman, the halfling.
Lucia Rossi kind of looks at Lucia Rossi looks at her to see what her reaction is to all of this. And just to hopefully get confirmation that he's not crazy and that this is.
Yeah, I mean, during the 15 minutes, she would have said, I recognize that you're adventurers for hire, so you work for money, but can we speed this up?
Just over the 50.
Continues to beat on this thing. She refuses the money. She looks at you and says, "No, you earn the money, and I really have no use for additional coin."
Oh, you are right. I did earn that money, so then I take it. So then, does Lucia Rossi accept his share?
He eyeballs it, and then he shifts the small body in his arms, and he takes and he says, "I will donate this to somebody in need."
There you go. That's the spirit. Take it to give it. One day you can become a benevolent emperor, but not until I die.
All right, so shall we be on our way now?
Yes. So let's head back to the inn so you can get your stuff.
It's basically 1,000 gold total, but the silver's heavy.
Hmm.
We have to. We could trade in the silver for credit at the blacksmith.
The blacksmith that hates us?
Hey, she might like us after we bring her 50 pounds of silver.
I suppose anything is possible.
Yes, that's the attitude, Lucia Rossi. That's the attitude.
I seriously doubt it, but still.
You're coming along. I'm proud of you. You'll be a great emperor one day.
You should know that Samus Holbein believes that the blacksmith in this town is a murderer, and is looking for proof that she's involved in the disappearances here.
Yes, I've heard something along those lines.
Why did he believe that?
He seems to have some sort of grudge against her. I don't know all of the details of it, but I saw no real evidence that she was involved in the disappearances. He nonetheless was sure of it.
I see. We've also heard this, as Lucia Rossi just said, but we're skeptical of its veracity.
Yeah, I don't actually think she has much to do with the disappearances. Now, whatever her business is with him, it doesn't seem as though she knew him before we got here, but it was very clear to me that he hated her before we even left Watchtower.
That's
really
interesting, because she seems to feel quite opposite of what he does.
Yeah, he was laying it on pretty thick with her. It was an act. He was pretending to be nice to her. Hoping he could get into her good graces and find something out that way. It wouldn't have done him any good, to be fair, to just march in and claim she murdered someone. She would have just clammed up.
Do you know if him and the blacksmith have had a past relation?
Like I said, it didn't seem to me like she knew who he was before we got here, so I don't think so.
Or perhaps or like a family relation?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing got mentioned to that effect.
Interesting. That seems. Is Master Holbein the type to hold a grudge?
You wouldn't have thought so, but then I came along with them on this mission.
Suppose anything is possible. He does not. He also doesn't have a beard, which says a lot about him.
Yes, he is very stylish.
Well,
I mean, for a dwarf, he is pretty good looking.
Never trust a dwarf without a beard.
Well,
that's ancient lore passed down.
Must be very ancient.
Yes, the best kind of lore, the ancient lore.
Please tell me we're walking as this conversation is happening.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Teal's feeling really loud too.
Okay.
So you're going back
I imagine,
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine Hellweir's like, are you holding the quaggoth head like out for display, or did you like stuff it in your pack? You're on mute.
Yeah, I've got it out. I don't want it to messy up my pack because it's probably spitting blood everywhere. So I'm just leaving like this big blood trail, I guess, as I go.
I mean, it is just a head. After the 15 minutes of beating on the chest, it's more or less just dripping blood at this point, not spraying it.
Yeah, I just have it outside my pack and just be holding it by its by its hair or whatever.
As you get to the bridge, you see Drick is out on his porch, and he sees that you're with this halfling and comes walking over. Hey, why do you have a head? What is that thing?
We killed a beast.
Yeah, I'll say.
We found this creature hiding in the old mining building.
Oh, the Falkirk's place, yeah. Well, that's odd. Why was it hiding in the Falkirk place?
That certainly is a good question, which we hope to get answered. But this thing may be related to some of the disappearances and murders around here.
So did you find Holbein? I mean, pardon me, milady, but Lady Amphilis here was in his group.
Yes, we're aware. And no, but Lady Amphilis could tell you where he's at.
She begins to sort of recount. She doesn't. You get the impression she doesn't really have a high regard for Drick, but she quickly recounts that they were waylaid in the swamps as they were traveling to Bogtown.
By these creatures?
Yes.
So what you think about them apples?
Drick. Let's see. What does he think? Drick seems a little skeptical. I'm pretty sure that maybe there are creatures involved. I could see that, but it's not some monster that was perpetrating these attacks. There's something smarter than that behind all this.
There's always somebody smart. Do you care to join us to come into the swamp to try to root this out once and for all?
I am 100% certain that if I go into the swamp, that's where I will die. So, best of luck here.
I don't know, Drick. That it sounds like a more exciting life than dairy farming.
Yeah, well,
I know you're missing the life.
Dying in the swamp isn't excitement. There's nothing
You're
less
right.
exciting than death.
How would you know?
Personal belief.
Yeah, right.
T-Hole and Hellweir, we are wasting time here. Can we move on to the inn to collect Anais? What is it? Anaheim?
Amphilis.
Amphilis. So that we can collect Amphilis's belongings and get on with what we need to do.
Fine, fine.
So you continue on. Eventually making it to the inn. So you go in. Haverford, you don't see him. There's the elven woman who waits tables is behind the bar. She has a rag in her hand and is sort of wiping the bar down. Oh, hello. Can I help you all?
Is Haverford around?
Haverford is off talking to Ilan about he needs some additional tools and an additional cupboard. So he should be back in a few minutes.
Where are they talking?
He's at Ilan's shop.
Ah. Is Ilan's shop near here?
It's just north of the Grove.
Oh, okay.
Lucirosi tells the girl, can you please ready us a few ales and a meal? I suspect, Amphilis, you are quite hungry after your ordeal, are you not?
I am, but I should go collect my armor and weapons first, or whatever I can find remaining upstairs.
And then Lucirosi will take a gold piece and place it on the counter and slide it to the girl. Will this cover the tab?
Yes, of course. I'll have it out to you in a second.
Excellent, thank you. Then T-Hole turns to Lucirosi and says, "I admire your charity. using your new gains for great ale. That is."
I have little need for currency outside of what is needed to sustain myself.
And that ale will do just fine. You're a good man. You'll make a great emperor.
So you say, T-Hole. So you say. Are you so quick to be seeking an heir?
An heir?
Do you believe yourself to be passing on for some time? I don't know why else you would be looking for somebody else to fill your position.
Oh, you never know. Life's too short, they say. It's only been a few thousand years. Any day could be the last.
She comes back out with a tray of meats and some dried fruit, and then begins to pour some ales.
All right. So Lucirosi will sit down and begin. While he'll wait for the others to join him before he starts. He does have some manners.
Yeah. T-Hole will join and he'll just dig in.
Yeah, same with Hellway.
Either first or way, Lucirosi.
A few minutes later, you see Lady Amphilis comes back down the stairs. She doesn't have any armor on, but she has strapped a long sword and a short sword to herself and has changed her clothes, which were nice but pretty dirty. She has on a different, essentially what amounts to padded armor.
You look refreshed, Amphilis.
I don't feel exactly refreshed, but there's not much time. We'll need to. It's probably more than going to take us many hours to get back to the swamp itself, and I have no idea how long it's going to take us to find a trail.
We may know someone who can escort us.
Elwir, are you suggesting the falconer?
Yes. Or who was the other person?
Was that Moonraker?
Yeah,
Moonshadow was the falconer.
Oh, was he just the falconer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. Possible.
And another minute passes, and then you see Haverford come in the front door. And he almost immediately stops staring at the head.
Yes.
Wait, where did Halwir put the head?
Oh,
I just put it on the table. Yeah.
Where we're eating?
Yeah.
So, after a moment of not really noticing it, Lucharosi looks at the head as well and says, do you have to put it here while we eat?
Yes. It must watch.
At least put it on a different table or something.
You're right. It's giving me the creeps. Put it at least facing away from us.
All right. He turns the head around.
That's better.
And you as Lucharosi reaches forward to turn the head around, like 30 or 40 fleas jump off of it and onto him.
You mean Halwir?
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Haverford, you've returned.
Yeah, what is that?
I believe they are called quaggoth. The creature had laid a trap for us at the old mining home. And we also found somebody from Holbein's party. And the motions to the halfling.
Good to see you again, milady. So is this the werewolf?
It certainly matches the description of what Heather and Hector had mentioned, attacking their children. As well as the fur that I found at the scene of that murder.
I had always thought, and not that I would know any better, but I had always thought that they would like change back into their human form.
Can these things transform in that manner?
I mean, not that you know, but certainly not that he knows either.
Right, but I mean for the sake of conversation.
Oh, well, I mean, that's my understanding of werewolves is they turn back into their regular form when you kill them. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I've never seen one.
I'm not quite sure that a quaggoth qualifies as a werewolf, but perhaps. I'm not quite familiar with these creatures myself.
Well, at least this is definitely progress. It'll make people in the village feel better, knowing that at least this creature is dead.
Yes, you should.
It'll make them feel even better to know that there's a whole horde of them coming.
What? His voice cracks when you say that.
Oh yes,
Because this head is, His head is substantially large. It is probably twice the size of a human head.
We're going to root them out, and as your king/emperor, yeah, I cannot stand idly by and let this town fall into disarray.
T-Hole, there is no need to alarm this man. We are not sure exactly what may or may not be coming to this town. We just know that this is not the only one.
You should hang this head here in the inn and show everybody.
Well, I'm happy to put it on display so that people can come and see it. I don't think I'm going to tell people that there's a whole herd of them. I mean, I can tell them that, you know, you are looking to see how Gruzza was controlling the creature, but
Very well. Well, I leave it with your capable hands, Haverford.
And he reaches and even more fleas jump off of it onto him. And he starts trying to slap at them. Eventually, he just walks off and comes back with like a blanket and wraps the head in the blanket and moves it over to the mantle above the fireplace, where he unwraps it and puts it on top of the mantle.
Perfect.
So what is your plan? Do you know where these things are hiding or where they're living?
Well, we know that they're some in the swamp. They seem to be taking people. It is how Amphilis here was captured. So we are going to seek Samus and the rest of the party and see if we can't hunt down the rest of these creatures that might be endangering the village.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them in the swamp before, but if they're going to hide anywhere, the swamp is the one place nobody wants to go.
So we keep hearing.
So, alas, we must take leave of you as soon as we finish these meals and be off.
Haverford, do you have any dry rations and water skins that we might be able to purchase from you?
I have rations and wineskins that I'm happy to give you for free.
Your generosity is too kind.
And he disappears into the back, and a couple minutes later comes back with 2 backpacks and 5 wineskins.
All right.
The backpacks are filled with dry rations.
Wow.
So, Amphilis, are you looking to go immediately, or do you require further rest?
Well, further rest would be ideal, as I'm still somewhat wounded, but there's really no time to take a day off. We should head back as soon as possible.
If you are still wounded, here, let me help you. I'll use, if I need to use them all. Does she need 20 or more hit points?
Yes.
All right, I'll give her all 20 that I have left.
So she is looking substantially better after that.
Does that help, Amphilis?
That helps greatly.
Good. We need to be as much of our strength as possible. If this swamp is as dangerous as everybody says.
Yes.
Should we recruit the falconer?
I don't think it would hurt to have another set of eyes, especially somebody who has some experience going into the swamp.
Yes, I agree.
I'm not sure that he has as much experience as you may be thinking. He's wandered around the fringes of the swamp once or twice, is what we gathered from him.
Oh?
It's not like he delves deep into the heart of the swamp, but he's crossed through bits of it and considers himself to be an expert. He also considers himself to be an expert swordsman, but I doubt he could take out a single town guard if he were in a duel with one.
Yes, I remember observing him fight. He had quite a unorthodox style.
Yeah, I saw him attacking a training dummy, and he seemed to not really know what he was doing. But if you want to take him, that's fine.
Oh, perhaps not. It might be placing another innocent in the way of danger, and we can't really afford to be carrying dead weight.
We can afford to be carrying a piece of bait, though.
No, you are right. Such wisdom. Maybe you would make a great emperor.
We will not be using any people as bait. That is absurd.
I mean, if you're saying he'd be bait because he's an elf, there were no elves in our party, and they attacked us readily enough.
Yes.
Additionally, bait assumes that we have some kind of trap or plan, rather than just going blindly into the swamp.
Well, we have an idea that we're looking for a leader or a temple, but to soothe the needs of the littler quaggoths, we may be able to throw the falconer at them.
We will not be sacrificing needless life for this purpose. Are you not capable enough to swing your weapons and cleave them in two if they are the weaker?
I know how to capture beasts and to find them. And I know that finding bait is a great way of capturing them.
Yes, but that
you would do well to trust us rangering skills. Perhaps we can find alternate bait.
I don't think there'd be many things in the swamp.
Once again, it is pointless to talk about bait unless we have some plan or trap. Otherwise, we have no direction to lead our quarry to pursue such bait. And we have no advantage by having individuals that will slow our pace or require our aid should they not be able to handle their own.
It makes sense.
Well, we don't want to lose too much daylight. It's already early afternoon.
Yes, let's go. And let's just head straight to the swamp.
Yep.
Yep.
So you make your way around through the town. There's only one pass up the cliffside out of the valley. And seems to, as soon as you get to the top of it, you begin to smell much more intensely the sort of brackish smell of salt water. But now it's sort of, it is a little bit more mixed with decay than it was in the valley. The air is much, much colder up here. And the smell's much less sweeter.
It seems we are leaving the effects of the tour.
Traveling forward, you come to a bridge And the road from Alcator sort of winding pleasantly through green plains towards a thickly forested swamp ahead of you. You can see there are gray, leafy trees that look to be sparse at first, but they get increasingly tangled and dense as the swamp continues on. As you're walking, you notice the earth is becoming marshier and the turf is starting to suck your feet in as you take steps forward. You round a corner in the path and you find yourself at a crossroad, one traveling to the northeast, one or northwest, one traveling to the east. And you see in the middle of the road, there is a human body laying collapsed.
I'll run to check the body to see if it's alive.
Give me a medicine check. Yeah, you can tell he's definitely alive. He seems as if he's been unconscious for a while. You can see there are deep gashes along his back, claw marks clearly. In fact, you can tell from that medicine check that the claw marks are very similar to the sort of wounds that a quaggoth would leave. Large, highly separated claws.
Amphilis, do you recognize this person? Was he one of your party?
No, I've never seen him before. And looking at him, like she looks to be a noblewoman. This guy looks to be a bit more of just a trapper. And he lets out a low moan.
Sir, are you all right? What happened?
He's still unconscious.
Oh.
Can I use my proficiency in medicine to like stabilize him?
He's stable. You could use your medicine ability to try to wake him up, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that's enough. He opens his eyes and sees this giant gray-skinned humanoid. Ah! 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 And he's like trying to scramble back.
Yeah, and I grab him.
Who?
Don't fear. It is I, your Emperor T-Hole, and Helweir, and Lucirosi.
What did you... I remember something was following me. So I hid. And then there was a flash of white fur. Something snuck up on me. It must have realized I was hiding from it and snuck around. He starts to get up and then sort of collapses back a bit, closing his eyes, wincing in pain. My name's Larson of Brixton. Thank you for saving me.
Larson, where is it that you're hurt?
He has claw marks along his back.
Do they look fatal or anything?
They look like they were serious. Like he basically was clawed down to 0 hit points, but stabilized on his own.
Okay. And then Helweir bandaged him up a bit.
Yeah, well, Helweir brought him back. Like I said, he stabilized on his own. Okay. So Helweir managed to probably just slap him back to consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will touch him and I will say, by Asherosa's light, I heal thee. And then I'll use cure wounds.
You watch as the wounds on his back completely heal up and close over, and the color sort of returns back to his skin, which he had been a little bit white looking from the loss of blood. And he gets like very wide-eyed, looking back at Lucirosi. I have no idea how you were. I I feel fine again. Thank you.
Do not thank me. It is a blessing from Asheros.
Ugh,
Do you
you
have
are
any information that you might be able to share? We are ourselves heading into the swamp.
into the swamp. I don't know if I would enter the swamp. Certainly, I mean, maybe you can walk around to the. There's a freshwater side to the Border Mire, and there's a saltwater side. The saltwater side is pitch black and filled with traps that'll suck you down into the mud and drown you. You'd be better off not going into that part. What? Do you have business in the swamp? There's really nothing in there. All the good game is in the freshwater side, and out here in the plains or in the hills.
The game we seek is not really bothered by the terrain, apparently.
Oh, I've never heard of any good coming from people actually going into the swamp. There is an imperial road that passes through it. That's pretty safe. But you'd have to go a couple miles north near Bogtown to get on the road.
Well, that is certainly helpful information. Did you see the creature that attacked you?
Not clearly. It was dark. It was nighttime. I'm down here hunting these. They're little magical rabbits, I suppose you would call them, little Feywild rabbits that I've been told have been seen in these parts. They were first up in Brixton, and we were making a pretty good living hunting them. But I think we overhunted them and they disappeared. Rumor was that down around the bog that there were more of them, although I haven't seen one since I got here. Last night I could feel eyes on me in the night. So I walked a bit down the road, sensing that something was following me. I then tried to hide on the side of the road, but I guess, like I said, I guess it figured out that I was onto it because it must have doubled around behind me off the road and attacked me from behind.
Interesting. So it was smart enough to root you out. Where did you hide on the side of the road?
And he points over to, you could see that he was dragged onto the road. There's a break in the bushes nearby. And he says, I was just behind those bushes. It was the best cover I could find quickly here.
A thought suddenly arises in Lucirosi's head. He looks to this person very sternly and says, "How long ago were you attacked?"
Well, I don't know exactly. Assuming I was only out for a couple of hours, probably 7 or 8 hours, I would guess. Assuming I wasn't out for like a full day. It was probably relatively near dawn.
So Lucirosi stands up to his full height and he starts looking around the area, remembering that the other one drew them in to the mining house, and he becomes very wary.
So give me a perception check.
All right.
Yeah, you don't see, you looking around, you can definitely see in the mud behind the bushes signs of a struggle, but you don't see any specific tracks. And you certainly don't see any other noticeable creatures around.
Then I turn to Hellware and I ask, Hellware, can you see if you might be able to track this creature?
I could, yes. We will find a way. And then I start looking around the ground, seeing if there's any, like, I don't know, track marks, all that kind of jazz.
Make a survival check. You definitely see tracks. You can see, in fact, tracks that sort of lead up to where there's a lot of a clear scuffle in the mud. And then you see a set of tracks leading onto the road, and then mud from where the creature was fighting caked onto the road. They seem to go south, back in the direction of Alcator.
He may be the same creature that we fought.
Although you definitely see two sets of these tracks.
Yeah, I'd relay that to the group.
So there's a second set of tracks. Can you tell where the second set of tracks is going?
To Alcator? Is that?
Yeah, they're both going to Alcator.
Yeah.
I mean, you could follow either the set that led to where they fought this guy, or the ones going back to Alcator go back to Alcator.
Yeah. Yes, I don't think we would find very much following these tracks.
Well, I'd be very wary. It may be that creature that we fought earlier was the same that harassed this man, but these things have already laid one trap for us.
Did it ever make noises, Trapper?
Well, if it had made noises, I would have known it was there. I wish it had.
Sir, is there anything else that you might need from us before you go upon your way?
If you've done a lot for me already, there's not a lot of people who would have stopped to check on a dead body in the road.
Clearly, sir, you are not dead. Otherwise, we may have passed you by.
Well, I mean, I'm going to make my way to Bogtown. I'm definitely not going to Alcator, but Bogtowns should be relatively safe. I haven't been there in a while, and they're greedy and rough, but I'm sure I can find a place to sleep for the night there. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to hunt in a place that's got these sorts of creatures stalking you.
Indeed, sir. Please be safe on your travels, and may Ashros light your way to Bogtown.
Thank you. If you want to get into the swamp, you still might want to try going up through Bogtown anyway. Like I said, this part of the swamp, this is the saltwater part. This is tough going for anybody.
At that, I look to Amphilis, and I ask, what do you suggest? You made it through all of this. You were previously in the swamp anyways when you were ambushed.
Yeah, we were ambushed in the freshwater part of the swamp, but the first thing they did was drag us into the saltwater part. So I think if we're going to find my group, it's going to be in the saltwater swamps.
Which direction is the saltwater swamps?
We're right near it.
Yeah, both of them are basically north of you. The saltwater swamps extend down further. So though the part of the swamp that's, you're maybe a mile away from is the saltwater swamp.
Okay.
The freshwater swamp is basically to the northwest and still a couple miles away.
Okay.
Well, let's head to the saltwater swamps to the northeast here.
Yes.
So Larson of Brixton says his goodbyes, and he goes on the road that heads to the northwest. Heading on the road to the east, you can see that there are a number of game trails, but give me perception checks.
I'm going to use an action point. Last one.
You can see, particularly T-Hole notices that some of the trails clearly have humanoid footprints in them, and some of them seem to have quaggoth style footprints in them. Large, almost animal-like tracks of a bipedal animal. And they do seem to go into the saltwater portion of the swamp.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay. It seems that there is the human quarry is also often brought here. Can we tell how old like the tracks are?
That's more of a survival check. Some of them you would guess are none of them are very, very old. There are a lot of them, but you would guess that these tracks probably disappear in the course of 4 or 5 days.
Okay. So,
but you find one set of these tracks that seems to be on relatively stable ground that leads into the swamp.
Well, it would be. I don't think it would be a good idea to just follow these tracks directly in.
Why not?
Well, the swamp, you can't guide through the swamp. You just it will come into water, and these tracks will be completely useless.
What other measure do we have to judge our way?
Well, if we follow to the Imperial Road, we may be able to get some distance into the swamp before we venture out. At least that way we would be somewhere in the middle rather than coming from the outside or at a place within our choosing. And the trapper said that the Imperial Road was generally pretty safe.
Amphilis, how deeply into the saltwater marshes were you and your party?
Well, I'm not aware of the specific location of an Imperial Road running in this area, but we certainly didn't come across one. So not as far north as the Imperial Road. I suppose we could have, if we had passed over one in the night, I may or may not have noticed it. But I don't remember one.
Well, it would be pitch black in a swamp at night.
Right.
So.
And do we have what we need to set up camp if need be?
Not having been in there, it's hard to say. It might be uncomfortable to camp in a swamp unless you can find a random, relatively dry area. like a high point.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have much to go on, but we have these tracks. I say that we follow the tracks as best we can.
Oh, that's fine. But they'll run into water, and then what? Only then we shall see. We'll have to take it from there.
I have faith that Ashros will light our way, as he always does.
Does somebody give me, whoever's doing the tracking, give me a survival check?
I vote Hellweir is doing that.
So you begin to follow the tracks in. The mud is getting increasingly viscous, so it's sucking your feet down more and more. But because of your rangering skills, you are able to find safer paths through all of the mud. On many occasions, you come to a spot where you are sure that if you had pressed forward, you would have become stuck in very viscous mud and sucked under. But these traps, probably fatal to most people, are pretty easy for you to avoid as a ranger. So you're able to kind of direct people around them. You have two choices, though. The tracks, you eventually do come to water. The center of the swamp seems to have a lot of water, and so the tracks become impossible to follow at about the same point when the vegetation becomes thick enough that the canopy closes completely, and you discover it is almost as dark as night in the center of this swamp.
Wow.
But there are several trails that you can follow that are relatively safe to walk on. Or if you don't necessarily know where you're headed, but you could leave the trails if you're willing to swim. The problem is that this water is cold, so walking on these trails, your feet are submerged, but at least you're not like whole body swimming through it. If you were to swim, you would have to make constitution checks because of potential hypothermia.
Not to mention the difficulty of being dragged down by armor.
Right. And if something attacked you, that might be a problem. So if you stick to the drier paths, the problem is they're not specifically paths. They just happen to be somewhat higher ground that passes through that you can walk on. And frequently they dead end and you have to backtrack. Now, the good news is, again, because you're with a ranger, he can't get lost. So you could follow these things to their natural conclusion and then sometimes have to turn around and come back. But you can keep making steady progress. It's just slower because of all the backtracking and crisscrossing of paths.
So slow and steady or fast and stupid?
So how does Hellweir communicate this to us? Since unfortunately Hellweir is the expert here. Oh God!
Some would say fortunately.
Hellweir would say fortunately, so I guess that's
that's some. He looks around and he sees the water and he like looks back at the group and he notices that there's a little baby halfling, so he's not very keen on going through the water, so he's just going to keep on following trails and continuously coming back to this spot until he finds one which goes just a little bit further.
So you are making steady progress, although after about 2 hours of travel in the darker part of the swamp, you do see hanging on a tree, clearly just tied up there with a bit of string. There is a half sort of eaten away wooden doll.
The dolls.
Looking closely, it appears to just be wood. It maybe was painted once upon a time, but most of the paint has worn away. It's about a foot tall.
I'm gonna shoot it with my bow.
You shoot it, and the body of the doll basically splinters and falls into the water. The head dangles. Still, just happens that it got stuck on the string, and then it rolls out of the string and plops down into the water as well. And as you continue on, periodically you see a doll here or a doll there. They're not all tied to the trees. Some of them just are like somebody posed them sitting on branches or half sticking out of the mud. And as you get deeper, you see more and more. After about 3 hours of travel, it has begun to get. You're not. There was a little light out when it was daylight, but now it's full on night outside. The sun has set, and the swamp itself is pitch black. But I assume you're using a light spell or something.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the trees around you at this point, like the number of dolls has been increasing. Now you see perhaps 24 tiny wooden and glass eyes watching you. They don't move, but you can feel a presence. It's almost like they're angry that you're here.
So.
Oh God.
Definitely using a light spell. And if it's more convenient, I will hand whatever I light up to Helweir to handle. As for the dolls, seeing them, if I use my divine sense, do I pick up anything looking at them?
You do not.
Okay. What about just in general? Do I see any potential auras of corruption or whatever?
No, not corruption. It's just you don't really detect anything coming from them. At least not from the divine sense. Just your intuition is these dolls are angry and it feels like they're watching you.
Mm-hmm. So,
and then another 20 minutes passes and you still see it's an incredible number of these dolls. I mean, unless they're moving, which the paranoia is that they are. But at some point you think you see, like in the corner of your eye, a head turn a little bit or an arm move a little bit. And maybe it's just the wind, but you realize there's no wind.
Making conversation to hopefully reduce his unease, Lushirosi says. So, right, how's everyone?
Why are you scared of these tiny little dolls?
I'm not scared. I just... Do you not feel this strange sense of being watched?
I feel there was some very stupid, superstitious elves which put these dolls here.
And then as you watch, there's a doll in a tree directly ahead of you, but it's not facing you, so it's a little less creepy. But then the head turns 180 degrees to look back at you, and it begins to crawl towards you. And that's where we can end it for this time.
Okay. What the fuck have we walked into?
It's good to sometimes have a little cliffhanger ending.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking hell.
All right.
Well,
thank you, guys.
Good find.
All right. I am, like I said, away this Thursday, so we're not playing this Thursday.
Yep.
But since Anno's not around next Thursday, we'll pick it up then.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
Kurt.
So next Friday, I technically have my I have a house inspection, but I might be able to sneak it in. So yeah, it should be good.
Okay. Kurt, when we start up McCormick's Folly, how do you want to do it?
I mean, I was thinking like once a month we would do my game.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily matter to me which day of the month. I assume it probably makes sense to do like the last Thursday of the month.
That works. I just wanted to double check, make sure.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Bye bye.